Yo, what is up? What is up? It's your boy FNTASIA Plus. Not sure exactly what to call this, but a little bit of a bonus. Checking out some of the stuff that's going on in between the weeks. Ball 11 shout as always, and we're actually talking about heats now. Let's jump right into EU. Talk about Heat 1. Talk a little preview, some predictions, seeing what's up. If you guys didn't know, it's top 6 in the semifinals. And I just want to start off with Heat 1. So I'm guessing session 1 on Fortnite Tracker is also Heat number 1.
Yeah.
If not, this is going to be hella
Come
awkward.
on, call it the right name. Heat A, B, and C.
Well, actually, I think they
Come on.
changed that on the
Get it
Epic
right.
thing, so I don't even know.
Yeah, 11. This guy gets a Shure SM7B, gets a Go XLR, now thinks he just knows. He just knows about the Heat.
Shite.
The Heat
You
is
literally
crazy.
know. You literally know it's supposed to be A, B, and C.
I don't know.
You know
anything,
it is.
man.
You
I'm
do
just,
know it is.
I'm
though,
living.
right?
I didn't
Man,
come to the last
this
meeting. You know what
guy-
I'm saying? I didn't come to the last meeting. I was sleeping.
It wasn't even in the last meeting. This has been the same. They actually had this problem. It's actually is supposed to be A, B, and C, but like it's just typical. Just
you guys,
just lost
you guys
in
are making me
man.
feel hella left out right now. Hella left out. I used to be in these circles.
I'm sorry, man. It's
so-
like FNTASIA, right?
Yeah, true.
No one's gonna get that. Right?
No,
No
one's
one's
get
gonna
that.
reference. Man, Levin's just living in pain. Regardless, though, we talk about Heat numero unos. Talking about the Heat in general, I would say once we look at all the Heats, before we really dive in, I feel like this Heat is the second top Heat in terms of like, there's still some big notable names. There's gonna be some cool stuff off spawn because there always is. And there's a bunch of men's rolling through. But just off the top of the list, like if you're looking at hot topics, we got AD and Hardfine Astro, Kha'Zix, Falcon Lee, Nakaz in here. I feel like this is the Heat, Kinza, Ijat, Wakey, of a lot of people rolling in who've had high expectations but haven't hit them yet, right? The biggest name in there that kind of represents that is Andalex, Snazy, Xweez. Like, why are they even in Heats, first of all? And it's kind of crazy. We're gonna be watching them in semifinals, and they're kind of the captain, and I feel of that story, and I feel like that's this Heat story. But yeah, let's any other general notes on the Heat? I am flying. I'm flying some
Before the
weird
episode
plane
starts,
today.
like, yeah, just give me the range. Just give me the range. I'm just gonna go for it.
Let me warm up. I ate a lot of food.
All right. Do you want to look at all each Heat?
I do. That's what I was.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking. But before we get into it, do you guys have any other general notes on Heat 1 that you wanted to?
Okay.
Like any tags you want to give it? I just gave it like that redemption tag. Any other tags you want to give these long lists of names at all?
This Heat is gonna be underrated. I think people are gonna glance at this Heat and look at another Heat and be like, this Heat's better, and like this Heat's better to watch, and this is gonna be the best, the best Heat. But in reality, I think that there is a lot of teams in here that will make this probably pretty exciting, to be honest, and also affect the leaderboards in grand finals more so than some of the other Heats.
Okay.
Yeah, I think following on sort of that, I do think that this Heat will probably have like some of the best games of all the Heats. Not necessarily the games that you're more invested in, but definitely I think in terms of just how entertaining the games are, there's a couple like really good height teams in here, that kind of thing. Like I think this game or these games can be really good. And I think I actually also agree in the sense of I think that the people who come out of this Heat will probably end up doing a lot better in actual grand finals than people from others, or the people who I think will come out of this Heat are probably going to end up doing better in grand finals than people from other Heats. So
I'd say
a lot to be excited about here.
hit me with Heat 2. Hit me with Heat 2 real quick.
I got you. Heat 2.
Let's jostle on over into brass tacks, the business, so to speak. This is the Heat to watch. I believe this is going to be the Heat that's also being broadcasted. If this is not general knowledge, then
It doesn't matter.
it's a perk.
Who cares?
It's a perk. It's a perk for watching FNTASIA Plus. It is what it is.
That's not a leak, man. Don't make that seem like it's a leak. Like, just move on with it. It's just
Levin's got it.
we're
Levin's got to
looking at-
continue high standards of leaks on the show.
Funny, man.
Come on, man,
SM7B and the attitude just changes. It's crazy.
Okay.
But we're looking at hot names in this Heat. I feel like you're talking about that Heat that everyone would be watching. Heat 1 might be the underrated Heat. This is the rated Heat. You know what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
This is like the VIP club. People rolling in, and some of the names. A lot of the other names are also kind of like, yo, what are we doing here? This is gonna be a tough time. That are just kind of rolling up. but this would be the VIP Heat, so to speak. And it should be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I think that this one
Very
also has
top
the
heavy.
potential to like also, well, obviously, like the names that are in here should be in, like some of them should be in grand finals and should affect the leaderboard no matter what. But Heat 1 and Heat 2 have a relationship here where Airwalk, Skite, and Vato doing well, for example, could really change how you perceive Andelek, Snazy, and Xweez in the last Heat doing well, given what we saw during weeks. But you know that could all change during grand finals, anyways. But that is kind of something I'm looking at, is the relationship between the different Heats as well.
Yeah, I just think it's really top heavy heat. I think there are a bunch of teams in here who are really good teams. I think, or at least teams that, you know, came into the season with a lot of excitement around them. And I think some of them, we'll get into more specific, but I think some of them you would have thought in the heats they actually would look like they're in trouble. But I think where there are quite a few teams where I don't think they're necessarily the strongest of teams, I think that could be like a saving grace for a couple of people. But you know, that's more specific cases for different teams around the map. But overall, I do think this heat will be very entertaining. Genuinely, just because like the name value that you know this heat has.
Yeah, last Heat, last but not least, and it's cool to say that because usually there's 4 in a season. This time it's just 3. We're gonna be looking at let me just look at this stuff. What is this Heat? To be honest, you know, it's a cool Heat for me. It's like, you know, it's the and the man's like, you know, there are, you know, reputable names. Don't let me disrespect an entire region's, you know, player base, but at the same time, it just feels like it's kind of like the wild card Heat of players rolling in. A bunch of people that end up coming, like, you know, second, third, fourth, fifth behind others. A bunch of people that end up coming through in top 10, but don't usually see like the limelight all the way towards the top, like season after season, not just this season in general. I'm thinking of people like Sheikos, DKS, Granjo. I'm thinking of Lanoof, Marine, and Slicks, Blink and Rotary. A bunch of names that are like not middle of the pack, but like between middle and high. Um,
Well, well, I'm gonna somewhat agree and disagree with you here in the sense of I actually think although this heat doesn't necessarily have like the star power and name value that other heats do, I think if you look at heats as people you expect to qual and everybody else, I think this heats and everybody else is much better than heat twos and at a sort of similar level, if not better than heat ones. I think there are a lot of people in this heat who aren't necessarily like world beaters, but you know, solid trios to, you know, there's a lot to, or decent amount to talk about in terms of, you know, their style and their performances of late. So I think this heat could be a sleep. I think the reboot round winners could be dominated by this heat. There's a couple of teams I could see just being able to just win a one-off game, right? So
yeah,
I think it's still an interesting heat.
I feel like there's always one Heat that like just has no star power whatsoever, but it's always the like this is the fucking juice when it comes to actual comp and like all the different like deep like little rivalries and whatever, and also just like the best up and coming players that nobody has any clue about. I feel like this Heat is that Heat for this season, if it makes any sense. I mean, there's still some big names like Wolfies and them. You already mentioned a couple of the other ones as well, but in the like for the most part, there's not like one of those major teams like Heat 1 and Heat 2 have. And don't forget
Yeah.
that also like they've already like most of the big names have already qualified. So
yeah. Let's dive into Heat 1 then and talk a little bit more nitty gritty of what is going down inside EU and inside this Heat specifically. You're talking about like things that can affect people on you know, Heat to Heat. I'm talking about just in terms of we're looking at a top 6 for this Heat. Are there enough spots for the big names just to claim top 6, or is there an overflow in Heat 1? I'm going to ask this for I think just 1 and 2, but I feel like over here I feel that there's 6 kind of, you know, top teams, and there's enough space if they all do well to qualify. Like everyone we should expect to qualify can potentially qualify out of this Heat.
so there's Andelix, Snazy, and Xweez. Who else are you
Mm-hmm.
like? Is there anybody here? Kazakh, Falcon, Lee, Nakos? Is that ZQ, Robabs, and
I'm looking
Leo?
at Andalex, so 28. Then we look at
Yeah.
22 Kinzel. That should be a qual.
Oh yeah, true.
Kazakh Falcon Nikos should come back by this point. That should be one. Ezekiel Robab should be another. ADN Hardfine should be another.
Is that 5?
And then I think that's 4 or 5. And then that one extra could be like, you know, maybe Stasio. Like, I don't even know.
No,
Red Rush. Like,
Podesai?
Like the last one's like it's like a catch up type beat. Basically, it's under qualifications of the people who should qual out of this heat have the chance to all of them to basically do that out of the heat.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to get that baseline of like
Yeah.
expectations out there because I think I agree with most of that.
The last slot is like up for just like
yeah, I think that's
call and
always
debate,
how it
but
kind of works, right? It's just like
yeah.
I don't know.
Are
We'll see
we
when it gets to heat 2, but
are we like predictioning in like I don't know the word, but like are we like giving a prediction of who like we think is gonna be that 7 and like are we like writing it down or we just sort of
I think
like
we do that at the end, like after we look at drop spots and stuff, or
okay, no. Well, I thought we were gonna do it like as we go along, and we would be looking at drop spots for each one, like so we
Yeah.
just get.
I mean, we
heat
can
one
look
out
at
of the way,
drop
and then
spots.
heat
Yeah, let's
two,
roll.
and
Let's
heat
roll
three.
drop spots right now. Let's dive in. Let's dive in because there's no stats on that page. It's just names, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just names. All right, drop spots. Boom.
King Bob. Okay.
Well, when I look at this heat, I think the first sort of things that come to mind in terms of, you know, the way I look at like most heats will be like, who do I think are locks, and you know, who do I think are pretty strong, whatever. Weirdly, for this heat, I don't know. I'm not as confident in certain like in having many like locks. I think there are a couple teams where things are up in the air. So like, you know, Anderlecht is true to begin with, right? Is obviously I think the one team everyone's going to have their eyes on. I think those guys in particular, you know, it's been a rocky road. We sort of alluded to it in like the podcast episode last week, where it's like, what we don't necessarily know what we're getting out of them, and it's not what we thought it would be in terms of, you know, we expected these guys to sort of be a team that just auto-qualled in terms of how they are actually playing end game. Are they playing for height? Or they have peppers, you'd expect them to. That is like a whole different conversation that can last forever. In terms of just off spawn, the concerns to them, I'm not that worried, even though they've showed off spawn that they could be a bit fragile. I do think that they should have Fredoxy's number, but I don't think Fredoxy's trio is going to just roll over, right? So there is that concern that they could have a couple bad games where it's either, you know, an off spawn death or, you know, just like a really scuffed game heading into mid. So
Is that a
I think
dual
there are
contest
concerns
that
there.
caddy or is that a caddy weather?
Well, so it's a catty weather. It's a catty weather, but I'm expecting those two to fight most games,
some-
right? Like,
Yeah.
like I think if anything,
We'll probably go like
I don't
week
know.
3 went, right? Where there was like slight engagements, but mostly it was more respectful than the rest of the weeks.
Yeah. If you're Anderlecht, do you want them to actually just 50-50 though?
Yeah.
No.
Or would you rather just have the catty switch? Because I think if I'm Anderlecht, I'd rather them just land catty.
Yeah.
than
I
get
think
that
I would
there,
too.
but-
From what I've seen, when they're playing a team with like slight skill imbalance, they just roll over them, and that just catapults them forward. I mean, they did that. I think that's literally how they were winning those early tournaments this season. It's just like rolling over a random team that's like, we're gonna try Caddy, and from there they catapult into a crazy mid game, and obviously they pop off end games. So I think they prefer fighting as fast as possible if they can, especially if it's like conditions where they're 50-50ing. Although obviously you don't necessarily want like a 50-50 scenario to be happening, but in a situation like this where they can't, like I think honestly this heat is a spot where they don't really even need like all 6 games. Like they probably only need 2 really good games, and I think they'll be set.
So are you running them in or running them out of the top 6?
I got them in.
In, Bala?
Yeah, but towards the
In,
tail
you
end
know-
of top 6.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
Little
think I'm still
specificity?
riding on the same wave with them. It's like
Okay.
they'll toss a game on height one time throughout the seat, but I do see that they have more success than they would in the grand finals.
Sick. Okay. That's a unanimous in. Next team I think to look at is I drop Kinzel Wakey. That's like kind of a free in my eyes.
Yeah,
especially
if
on
this
Holly.
stays.
May I ask you why?
We got to watch them operate from this drop spot on one of the weeks. I think it was Qual 2, unless I'm dumb.
I think it
watching something else.
was extra cash cup actually, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look at what their because I don't remember too much about them throughout the entire season, but let's take a look at their placements this time around. FNTASIA qualifier 2. They made, yeah, you were right. 13th place.
Yeah. Just seeing like their plan overall, like from early to mid, like it always looked fine from on qual 2, or like generally when I saw them at Holly, and it was kind of surprising to see them at Holly because I was used to just waiting and watching for the Coral rotation to come through. It's just like the amount of what's it called? I guess like in terms of like truly end game moments, I didn't get to actually pick up as much as like we're used to watching I drop pop off with like in endgame. I felt like the either the qual was kind of harder, the circumstances were harder. This lobby should be easier on paper just because there's so many more good teams gone. Especially with their spot. If I'm just looking at the drop spot map in terms of where they're gonna be rotating in from, there's no one really on the split down below from them. Sweaty's fighting above them. Kylix over at Logjam. Like
you've always been a Holly Hedges hater. I'm surprised I'm hearing this for you, Shia.
I know. I still detest the spot, but facts are facts. You know what I'm saying? So, I feel like just with the circumstances at hand and the fact that there's less good teams, like there's 2 quals of teams gone, and they were the issue. I feel like for Wakey, Kinzal, and iDrop, these guys are just free. They're free to roll. Like,
what I'd say to that is when I look at this team, it looks like a team that should qual fairly easily. They've shown us moments where they look like, you know, a clinical team where they can just sort of, you know, win games when they need to. They're coached by BloodX, who, you know, I'm in terms of his ability to coach, I'm a big fan of. I like the, you know, his style that he sort of imposes on teams he coaches. The concern I have, and I'm sorry to do this, you brought up the highlights, which is nice, Bola. If you go back to their games, right, the list of their games from the most recent round 4 we saw, right, there's something that stands out to me that is a concern. Last 2 games, game 5 and 6, 19-minute game, 8-minute game. Those are games where they've gone down to surge. Like that's like a 19-minute game. That's like a second zone surge. The 8-minute one, I don't know. Maybe they've got rolled by a team that's hungry for surge.
19-minute would be 5th zone surge, yeah.
Well, yeah, actually, yeah, that'd be right before 5th. Yeah. So like, that's a concern to me. You know, like especially if that's like that's not even like it's the first couple games. If that's flipped, I'm not as concerned, right? If that's the first 2 games, you're going down to surge in that sort of way, that's not an issue, I don't think. But if that's your game 5 and 6, you know, like that says to me that like you know, their ability to adapt may be something that has to be put into question. I think where they've had a week to prepare, and I know they will have prepared, you know, they will have like their sort of surge routes planned out. But if things don't necessarily go to plan, their ability to adapt right now is not something I'm very confident in.
The thing is, like, if we're putting this thing on Analyx FNTASIA Squeeze, right? Yo, 2 good games in general, where they accrue as many points as possible. Then if it's middling, it's whatever. I feel like for Kinzal, iDrop, Wakey, even if somehow they fall to surge again the last 2 games, like what I was saying to answer your question before, like the why. The difference now is like if they make endgame, they'll actually be able to get a lot more elims.
No, I haven't like where's that coming from? Because
coming from the fact that there's like just dog shit teams in the heats. Like they're not facing top names.
Okay, but there's dog shit teams in semis, and they didn't make finals twice.
In their qual, they were tough teams on their layers and around them that they just couldn't find control.
I know, but I'm saying in the games before, like the round 3 or whatever, like how come they struggled to make it to round 4? Because if that's the case, then they should not struggle to make it to round 4. You know, and I'm saying you can't use Analyx, Squeeze, and FNTASIA at like saying that they only need 2 pop-off games as a reason why iDrop, Kinzal, and Wakey should be able to make it too, because I haven't seen iDrop, Kinzal, and Wakey pop off this season.
They've had good
apart from Cash Cup Extra.
Apart from Cash Cup Extra, but that's one thing. Like
in qual 2, there was like they were in the like they were in the moment. They just didn't get to milk the moment like entirely. That's the issue. I feel like there'll be a chance for milk this time.
The one piece of hope that I have is the fact that Kinzal and Wakey did do really well out of Coral in last semis. And so that to me says that they give me the confidence that they'll be able to get it done in heats. My only thing is that I just don't necessarily think they're like. I don't think that we should be saying they're just like a lock. Like I think they're I'm very confident that they'll qual. I think it is just sort of like I just noticed that and I was like, it's a bit odd, right? Like I wouldn't expect that of that trio, but definitely a very good team and a team that in finals is probably more of a threat than like how I look at them in heats. So
To me, this is a consistent team. They should be consistent, right? Not crazy pop-offs.
yeah,
That's how I feel about them. I feel like they should have a way higher average placement, and their elims, I guess, are okay. I mean, this tournament was not good for them. Like, this tournament was bad for them, to be honest. Like, if I look at this and I'm like, like, are they gonna be like? This tournament was bad, and I can't see any reason why they. Maybe the fact that they show they can have those games is good, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree. I don't see them as a lock. I see them as a like. It's probably going to happen, but I don't see them as a lock like I do Andalex in them.
All right.
yeah.
So that's two no's from you guys from top six.
The other
No, that's not no.
All right, so top six, yes or no?
I think they're like a lower end top six. So like they're like a team that like could squeeze in, like a sixth, fifth. Like
I would want to pay massive attention here. To Levin's point about Surge, to the teams that are here, there are a lot of like routes here that they can abuse, especially if these two teams are actually doing this, which they probably won't. They'll split like more south and whatever. But two teams at Sweaty is really good for them.
Yeah.
The teams that are there, probably not so good for them.
yeah. I don't know though. I still really, I'm really reluctant to think that a team as good as Joe, Stompy, and Shadow will contest a team as good as Kha'Zix, Falcon Lee, and Nakos at Sweaty.
Yeah.
Like, if you like zoom out on the map, like it's something I saw Boop talking about, right? Which is something that I could genuinely see. If you like go towards like Catty Corner, right? Not Catty Corner, sorry. If you go towards Cami Split, right? That area, I could just see a Joe, Shadow, and Stompy just being like, yeah, we're just gonna alpha Cami Split. Or like, if you look at if you go down a bit to where Stasio's team is, right? Like there's so many places where I think there's teams who could just fall over, right? And they could just sort of be like, yeah, we're taking the spot, we're alphaing it up. Whereas like Sweaty contesting one of the better teams in the lobby, like I just don't see that being a play. Like I'm really sort of, I don't see them landing at Sweaty. That would be to me like a catastrophic mistake.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. But to be honest, like I'm not valuing Cami Split as high this season. I know it's still good, but like not as high as it was last season where it was freaking out about it. But you're right. These teams are both of these on both sides of the split. Like it's probably not the worst thing to just be like, yeah, I'm probably gonna go here. But yeah, these drop spot maps are really sometimes they're not correct
Slightly
either.
off.
Yeah, I do want to look at Red. Like I just saw Red Rush Exteriors and Mappy. Like they have this the dam plus the junction area or whatever the fuck you guys are calling it this season. That boosts them way up in my list, to be honest. But
They have the whole split. What is that island, by the way? Once again,
I saw this yesterday. I was like, what the hell is this thing? I don't know, man. I haven't gone there. I didn't even know it was a thing.
They put an island in the game for Kree, bro. That's crazy. That's mad respect, actually. Yeah, no, they have a good spot. Right next to Hard Find 80 and Astro. What are you guys' thoughts on the Slurpee boys?
Oh, true.
They are a very confident core. They're one of the few teams I think maybe you could consider for a lock. I think right now, like uncontested Slurpee, I think they should core. I don't think there's any excuse for them if they don't core. I don't. I'm just really confident about these guys. I think they should have a good time, and they're really good at Slurpee. Anyway, they have a lot of experience here. I'd expect them to core.
Yeah, no arguments there. The one trio that has like a god spot on the map that I'm kind of unconfident in is the Craggy Cliffs one, Senna Red and Robab. Just because of how they looked when they were contesting Robabs in a different in a different qual week. They just kind of looked like, I don't know, like maybe I saw them deconstructed and they just looked generally bad in the way they were taking fights, but it just I'm just not confident in like them fighting or them running into trouble at all, like at any point in the game.
Is that a spot where like one of the better teams will go, like if they're contested? Although I don't really see too many, except for like Andalex and them.
Yeah, like that might be a spot that, you know, Stompy looks at and like, yeah, maybe we can just alpha Craggy.
Yeah,
But
that's
at the
what I'm
same
thinking.
time, like, you know, who knows? Yeah, they're not a team that I'm looking at as you know, really sort of optimistic for their hopes. I think you'll get that. Like, I think you'll get that where you get a team who has a good POI, and it's almost crazy that they have Craggy to themselves.
Yeah.
But I don't. They're not on a list of teams who I think could do really well at the moment. They've not shown me anything to suggest that.
Man, it's weird
I
because
mean,
like a lot of these teams are just like don't have that much information about this season for some reason. Like obviously, I think I look at Star Six, Pink, and Vetland. I'm like, okay, like let's go. But I feel like I haven't seen them at all this season. Am I tripping or like?
Well, the problem with that trio is that if you look at last season, Stir Six, Vetle, and Crizzy were a shocking team off spawn. Really, really, really good fundamentals. Like, you know, I sort of made a parallel to where they were playing Misty. I made a parallel to, if you look at the way they play low ground, it's like you can really see like a style that's similar to Scented, Edgy, and Commandment, NA. And I still do think that the positions, I think they have a really good understanding of the game. Like, I think they're, you know, the fundamentals are clearly there, but off spawn, they have a history of being vulnerable. Now, once again, if you're maybe a team in this lobby who thinks aren't going too well, you might want to gamble on that. Like I know ZQ's team, who I believe ZQ's team are landing at Misty on the map, right?
No, ZQ's landing dirty.
They're
with
contesting
yeah,
dirty,
okay, yeah. So that's what I was gonna say, because ZQ literally was landing somewhere else, and then he saw that it was like Stir Six and them at dirty, and he was like, "We could roll these guys over. Like they're not that great of an off-spawn team, right?" And now that has become a contest. So how that one plays out will be interesting. It will, because I think overall you'd probably think Pink, Stir Six, and Vetle are the better team, but can they win off spawn against Leo, ZQ, and Robabs? That's not looking too good for them, I don't think.
Will these guys disengage? I feel like Leo and them are a splitting team.
I mean, they didn't split at Craggy, right?
When? Oh,
No.
back last time around? They kind of did. It was like weird chase down fights. What was that? That was week 3, right? That was like weird chase down fights.
Yeah.
Like where one side was like, yeah, actually I'll disengage, and the other side's like chasing a little bit, but like not fully committing to chasing. That was a weird
really
fight.
Weird fight, yeah.
But I remember them. I remember them on Stark Islands, like back in season 4. Definitely not like full committing to any crazy fights or anything like that throughout that entire time. So we'll see. I think based on what you're saying, Levin, like, and the fact that it's Leo, ZQ, and Robabs, like they can go two ways. They fight like crazy and Star Six gets shit on, and that's good for Leo and them, or they disengage, and I think that's fine for Star Six.
Yeah, and if they do disengage, then I think Star Six and them are within a good shot. I still wouldn't put them in my top 6 to call, but I do think that they have a chance's potential there. In terms of like, you know, I feel like we're sort of scrolling around the map, and there's a team who I think is a lock, who I don't think we've spoken about.
Yeah, one more thing about these guys though. I like when we're talking about like open space, like the reason I'm saying that disengage is like okay for them is, yeah, Dirty Docs is already good, like decent for splitting between trios. It's not like fully supporting. It's probably pretty ass in that case, but they have a lot of space around here to bully, to work with, to get surge, whatever, and get extra loot. So it's not the end of the world. All right, sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, I think if you look at Lazy Lake,
yeah, bad sniper.
What was it? Yeah, I think they're a lock. I think they came 6th last round 4. In qualifier 2, they made round 4, but it wasn't great. Like they were near the bottom. Come through qualifier 3, clear improvements. You know, not having the same sort of issues they had in week 2. I think bad sniper. What, last season, right, when he was playing with Trippin and Laxus or whatever. You know, he looks really good with them. Like, I wasn't really sure what I thought about Bad Sniper for a long time. Like, I sort of felt like, you know, he was at hide and things sort of spied out of control. He was like playing with Kura and stuff like that. And he came back with that trio last season, looked really good. This season, these guys look like they can be a serious threat. And with Lazy Uncon,
dude. I mean, just straight up, look at their week 3 here, right? 31st place one game, 33rd place one game. The rest of their games, 4th, 2nd, 9th, 5 elims, 6 elims, 9 elims, like. Yeah, no, you've convinced me here. Like, straight up, literally the only problem is when they die off a spawn. And you have to remember that these games are still when they're conned. It's not like they just disappeared. They just won their fight and then they move on and still do well in the game, which is kind of the whole point, the whole reason why that whole narrative about being conned is so strong. Yeah, I'm convinced there.
Yeah, I'd put those guys at a lock. I think Andalex is probably, a lot of people probably consider Andalex as a lock.
Yep.
I think these guys are probably in the same category as that, where when you just look at the lobby, you look at everything, they should qual. I don't think there should be an excuse for them to not qual. And I don't think anybody will contest them. Like, look at that. Look what happens, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
What about, and I feel like this is kind of the last thing to touch on in terms of, like, the top teams. Stealthy Stronghold.
Yeah.
XR, one loss, put aside. With Pleasant Park having like a weird fight, it feels like the only or like, just to mention, the reason I mentioned that is because the only times I ever see like the Stealthy Stronghold team flop is when Pleasant's like bored and free and ends up pushing them like a random game, and it kind of like interrupts the flow sometimes. And it might be like in game 4 or game 6, but they don't have that happening theoretically. And at the same time, we talked about all the teams that are available for Surge for the Holly Hedges guys. They have a bunch of teams they can roll through, from Coral to I feel like Robab will have some sort of solo path, whatever, on the right side, going all the way to zone down below. I feel like this could be the week for them.
All right. I also think that just the way that these guys, well, number one, I'm really hoping that MXR can actually freaking make grand finals again. Like, I feel like he's gotten unlucky in some of these cases. I always find this guy to be nasty. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there's probably going to be, a solo player coming up towards the Craggy Island, and he's farming there. They're farming on Coral as well. There's definitely opportunities. But if this fight does go long and they're not cleaning up fast, then that's an issue. Like, the timing has to be really, really good. I've seen so many stealthy teams just get completely shit on, not by the Pleasant team, but because they get, like, it's hard to get through the Pleasant fight unscathed. And if they can do that, then they're fine, and they should be able to do that. But there has been like some hiccups there from Pleasant teams, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like the stealthy teams slip up when it's like people new to stealthy. MXR is like the stealthy guy. The good dude's been here since like the POI came out. I literally think since the POI came out, and he hasn't left, no matter who the hell's grieving him in what week. I forget who they were fighting on default off spawn. Steelix, yeah. That was just such a sick fight, but it was also so grief sometimes.
It went out of hand at a certain point. Like, it got out of hand.
No. I think we watched that thing for like 15 minutes. We're just in the basement. These guys are up there, man. Savage. Raptors before Raptors were added in the game.
Literally.
But yeah,
dude, I'm
confident.
I'm seeing so many uncon teams at like some god shit, like Lazy Lake, fucking Spire, Bony Burbs, like Craggy, Slurpee, like everything right now feels. The
thing is, like, so I was looking at Colossal and I was looking at Spire, like, and Hyjo and Dervig's names specifically stood out to me, just because of like what ends up happening when they run into like traffic in mid game. I just see like decisions being made poorly. I think for the Plains Crown Dervig trio, there is like a conversation of maybe they could pop a little bit and have potential because they're central now. I think before, the biggest issue for them was just drops in general. They were landing flush, got slightly alpha'd, and then like pinball machined around the whole map and couldn't find a spot on their qual week. And then after that, I understand that they're now like on paper have a POI. It's just also in those moments when they did make it off of spawn in those weeks, there was just real issues when just there was a trio next to them. It felt like they didn't know what to do. It was like a high school prom. Couldn't approach. Didn't want to completely disengage from it either. Caught in like some weird ass middle ground, man. It was so weird.
Just standing there next to them, like.
The thing though that I'd say that probably isn't it doesn't necessarily apply to them as much as it does for like bad sniper trio, but like they're sort of surrounded by Polish trios. Like Polish trios historically aren't like the greatest of fighters. Even like the best Polish trio, like the one thing that they're known for is like just not being too limb heavy. Like they're not really in there fighting a bunch. And I think that is like the same for Sisu's trio and for Stasia's trio. So like I don't think in terms of traffic, I think maybe like they can use that to their advantage. Like if they are really sort of aggressive to those teams that are going to be sort of giving them issues mid game, then they can actually use that to their advantage when it comes to surge and things. But I actually think that's what bad snipers trio will probably end up doing a bunch, right? Where they're just sort of abusing those teams for surge mid game.
All right.
I hope, man. Yeah.
Well, what's the fight to watch in this off spawn?
Ooh.
Let's like this one or sweaty?
If it happens, sweaty for sure.
Yeah?
Earlier on, and as the day goes on, I feel like you switch over to dirty.
Dirty.
And then and then low key, I feel like something happens at Slurpee. Like in the later
those two
games.
teams are running
on
into
the
each other,
downfall, bro.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, what is this from X8 and Kylix? What? I would expect so much more.
Oh, I forgot these guys were in this heat. No, but I think these guys
These
are
guys
actually
are good.
I think they're a trio who could actually qual. I think they're a trio that could definitely qual. So I
have a
completely
really
forgot
good
to win this
split.
heat.
Yeah, this is a very underrated split that I don't see enough people talking about. Like, because you got what rentals, Shantytown as well. If you have zone, you get all of South Slurpee if you're risking it, and you get to get the treehouse if the Weeping team is lacking. So
yeah.
Also, Logjam is the best spot on the map, hands down.
Felt that
like,
coming.
they just have Lord buff. Like it's crazy, man. My only issue is every team that's landed here historically, even if they have the plan down, one of the games like messes up surge, or like fucks up timing in general. I know there's a lot of teams around them as well, but like they get into some weird timing flow.
Yeah.
They miss like the chance to intersect teams on their pathways or whatever. I'm sounding weird, but they just miss every team and they're forced into a fight. And even with God Loot, it just greases their game. So
You should pay attention to what happens like fifth zone when it's like Joe Stompy Shadow versus Kylix X8 Kaiden versus Andalex Snazy Squeeze for height. Like that's gonna be like a thing, like who just postures himself better for height, because all three of those are height teams, right? And you know, at least 2 out of 3 are really good height teams. So
that's true. That
yeah.
Right. Remember when I first started my beef with Andalex Snazy and X Squeeze on height? When I first started that, it was like a Cash Cup Extra I was watching. Well, actually, it was watching their win from a tournament where it's just like one off a height with nobody contesting them, and I'm like, okay, this isn't gonna last. And then Cash Cup Extra rolls around. The first team that I see that knocks him off a height was Stompy Shadow and Joe. I'm just like, wow, okay. They literally rolled on them, and they just died after that. That was the first team, and I think it happened the game after as well. So that is a big point.
Awesome. Yeah, that's food for thought on Heat 1. Let's dive into 2. Let's see if we can keep this within the timeline. It'd be sick. It's kind of like we're surfing right now. It's nice. Hanging 10, as the kids say. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm just trying to get the momentum flowing in between the
Way
heats.
too excited to get that one off.
All right. Heat 2, the VIP section of EU.
The VIP section.
Let's check it out. Bring up the drop spot map.
Bring up the drop spots. I bet.
Just bring it up.
Just bring it up. All right. We got
Locks? Question mark.
any locks?
Locks straight off the bat.
Let me take a gander. Wow, why am I seeing so many names beside other names, man? This is not like Heat 1.
A certain Polishman does seem to be the talk of the town. A certain Polish
Men
trio.
or men? Okay, I was gonna say
men. My bad, men. Certain Polish men do look like they could have a walk to the finals.
Yep.
I don't see race, you know, so I honestly don't know who you're
It's
talking
not
about.
Race, brother.
It was
What?
a joke, man. It's just a joke, man.
What's going on here?
I'm just
yeah, Cami said it to 100%. Dude, well, okay, this is like the top teams are getting respect here compared to the other Heat, which, you know, that makes sense. Slightly more star. Well, I don't know.
For now, for game 1,
I don't think.
What
that
are you
changes much over
implying
the
here?
course of the
What are
year.
you implying
feel
here?
like
Are you
it- what- I
implying
feel
that
like it
Benji's gonna get
changes.
dropped on
I feel like
after?
he's gonna get jumped. Not he's gonna get jumped, not dropped. Jumped, my man. Like griefed in like by game 3.
Well, okay. So what I will say actually about Benji's trio, since we're here,
Mhm.
is obviously we spoke about them on the pod, right? And it was sort of like we were having that conversation of like like what is it like? Clearly some things have changed in terms of the dynamics. What's changed? Thankfully, we have this extra episode, right? Because I've actually in between that time I watched from Benji's POV specifically because I wanted to hear like the comms, right? And I was right. Benji is like calling more. He is like the guy that's tarping it in game now. And to be fair, I'm actually not as worried about these guys in endgame. I think Benji actually looks like a competent, really competent tarper. He looks like really comfortable in that role. Matzo and Amplify have their sort of chemistry in the tarp that they'll sort of rock with. The issue is Surge. We saw the crazy game where they sort of like went to push Craggy, right? The Craggy team in this lobby is not rolling over. Shout out Trip and Hottie and Elocrats. They're not gonna just roll over. The stealthy team, maybe that's a point for them. If you look towards like the southeast, maybe those teams there, like towards like Risky and Spy, maybe that's like a point where they could maybe like those teams look like teams who could roll over. But if there's going to be an issue for these guys that stops them from calling, I think it will just be Surge.
Yeah, and the fact that 4-0 and
Well
Nate and
said.
Taser are in this as well, same situation that we've seen week after week. Like if they start rotating next to each other, bad news bears for both of these. Bad news
Yeah.
bears for both of these teams. Because that was like what 3 games in week 1 and 2 combined, or weeks 1
That was the
and
most
3 combined.
awkward like
Wasn't
engagement
even
I've
week
ever
3.
seen in my life.
Yeah, it was week 1
Like,
only.
in qual
Week one,
one.
though.
Yeah,
Week one, it was just really
that
weird,
was
yeah.
just the weirdest thing I've ever seen. From Tayson specifically. But yeah, my takes on locks 100%. Cammy said he teak. Queasy, Trillex, and Jerky as well. Locked.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And this is gonna be a hot one, but Hottie, Illocrats, and Trippern locked.
Ooh, I like that.
You
I
like
like
that?
that. I like that. I
want to lock. That
You're
one.
locking these guys in before you lock in 4-0 Nate and Tayson?
I'm
Yep.
not sure about Tayson or Benji. I'm not
Oh,
locking either of those in.
shit.
Actually,
All right. I'm
I
fucking on
think-
board.
I'm
I
usually
think
bandwagon
they're
like
locked.
Bandy, but like, yeah.
Nah, I think you're talking mad sense. I think Trip and Hoy Elocrats should qual. I think they're a really good trio. They have Craggy on con. If you look at just their like what I was just talking about with Benji's trio, where like rotating towards south, like the teams in their way south, like walk in the park for them. If you're just talking like skill level and experience, right? So
Mhm.
they should be fine. And with what you were saying like, with Bala, right, in terms of before Tayson, Fuzia, and Nate, yeah, I think Tayson, Fuzia, and Nate will just continue to have surge issues, right? Like
Yep.
when watching
Especially
their
on the map,
games,
like
when you watch their games round 3, right, like they're literally just doing like the typical sort of like sweaty thing of, oh, you push the team that goes castles. Everybody's aware of it now. The castles team will just rotate fast, like. And I literally, I think it might have actually been Fixie's team in week 3.
Mhm.
Maybe one of you can check, but it was like they're just gonna hop in a car and just drive away before you can even get there, and then you're just screwed because like when you're relying on one team in particular in the lobby or surge, it just can never go well because as soon as that team's like aware of that, they can just deny you. Like if you're reliant solely on just one team around you, it's never gonna work out well. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it literally was them.
Oh, week
So-
3. Yeah, I mean, the Tayson and them were here, right?
Okay, maybe it wasn't, but I remember there was a team that literally where like they just go to do the typical like, okay, we've looted Sweaty, we're gonna go push the castle team. Castle team just drives away,
Yeah.
And I'd expect Fixie and them to just do the same, just get away pretty easily.
Yep. Big facts. Oh, wrong.
how
hand.
do Fixie, Ziny, and Casper do?
Sorry, it pains me to say that because
They were 8th
like
in
yeah,
week
I
4.
don't know.
No, I'm saying, how do you think they do in this one? Not calling locks or anything, but I'm just looking at every team that doesn't like. There's some teams in very, very like, I don't know. I was just gonna call them sex spots. Like, holy shit, this is sex. You know what I'm talking about? Like, look at Trulex, right? Like, they just have options on who to tag for surge, what to do. Everyone around them contested. It's actually glory life. it's like fasting for 17 hours, and your mom brings you strawberries, shawarma, and a banana milkshake, bro. It is like you're living. Like you have the choice to eat what it. Like it's a good life. I'm also looking at like Cami Study Teak. Just look around them, bro. It's simple. It's a simple math of what they want to do all around. The problem trios aren't contested, so they're gonna spend more time looting above them, and the ones on the right that they can pick apart are there to pick apart. Like it's nice. So like, I don't know. There's definitely some teams in like sex spots, but like for Fixie Zani Casper, I was looking at them. Don't know much about Kenyo, so I was thinking about them as well. Basically, everyone on the top left side of the map, they don't really have sex spots, but at the same time, they don't really like. I don't know. Their spots are just kind of weird, where like it's just a little bit too empty. How will they operate if they miss their opportunity? I was talking about it like with the, you know, I think KK Wet is in the spot now, the Slurp Shack kind of situation. If you miss like your highway of tags, like you're just fucked for Surge. And I feel like that's the that's like the story for everyone on the left side of the map right now.
Yeah, I can see that, but I also like, well, I feel like these guys are gonna have to try to fight each other, like in some sort of capacity, and it's like based on, yeah, because of what you're saying. And I don't think that means they're screwed. I think maybe one of the teams is screwed. But also, I was looking at Boney and seeing this team, like two teams well, I guess this will go what? Spire Boney. But
I don't think so. I think that will just drop down to Boney only.
okay, well, if it does, then they all have a pathway, right? A pathway in. Like these two teams can fight, and FNTASIA and Nate and Tayson can grab Boney.
But historically speaking, like every time the fight is forced towards Boney or center of the map,
yeah,
like the Castle team and the Slurpee team struggles to get tags.
Yeah,
if no one gets stuck in hedges.
okay.
There's no one on the knife or split, so.
Yeah, I think when you look at the teams on the left, I think they could all sort of have their own issues. I think as you sort of go further right, though, I think that's when you start to find the teams that will probably do a bit better. Like if that is a contested Boney, I think that's actually, it's almost like with Anderlex and He1. I think that's good for Safik's trio if they're contested in Boney.
Oh, really?
Because I think they're just really good fighters, right?
Yeah,
I think
that's gonna be a roll. Easy clap.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be raw. I feel like that's a bit unfair for me to say to the other trio, just I don't know that much about them. But just from what I know about South Arizona and Siberia, I have confidence in them to be able to roll a team of Spawn at Boney. So I assume that team does go Spire. Like you said, I would just assume they would, because Spire is like not the best for loot, but positionally, Spire gives you so many advantages as a trio, especially if you're not that experienced or you're not on the same skill level as other people in the lobby. So I'd expect that team to leave. But if they don't, then yeah, I think that might be good for Safik.
Nice.
This is a sleeper team. Rojo, McDebeast, and what's the name of the last guy? Connor,
yeah. Monster
Another
Muncher.
sleeper team.
Monster Muncher. That's how I know him.
Yeah.
Similar situation, quote unquote, sex spot. I gotta find a better name for this.
Yeah,
but
you definitely do.
Yeah.
The Weeping Woods team. I always feel like, I don't know what qual it was. I don't know what region it was. But there was one Weeping team just popping off, and that stuff contested while everyone else around them was struggling. I know this is hella general, but like, if I know nothing about this team, if they somewhat wake up and they have a chance to like,
let's do some research. Let's do some research. What was the name of the team? Vav,
Sanji, and Migon.
Dude. Okay, buddy, it's so hard to find people. Oh wait, this is why it's not in the heats.
Yeah, it's not the
okay.
Vod,
they also they're just in one of those spots. Fuck. They get to choose whatever they want to do.
You're not in heats, bro. You're not in heats.
I am. Oh fuck, man.
Not in heats, bro.
All right, here we go. I'm in heats. Vav. Yes, we found them.
Gosh.
Dual media? Yeah, I'm locking.
Right, I saw the French flag and I started shivering a bit. I'm like, well, maybe they're, you know, like maybe.
Wait, what? Hold up. Session 3, 39th place. No session 2 or no session 3 in last week, and session 3 in week 2, 50th place.
Might have to be a lock, man. There's always one of these teams. You have to predict. You have to toss the predictions out there. There's always this one of these BK random teams that come top 6. They come top 6. And this might need to be the prediction I
But
have to make.
honestly, yeah. What I will say is, obviously, we stopped talking about Heat 1, but last season that was Gripey's trio, right? Where they were a team that hadn't made a round 4, and all of a sudden they just like win their Heat.
Yeah, you're thinking about the staff lines in Game 5,
you know what I mean?
right? You're thinking about them. Never made a Heat before in EU Grand Finals. That's a very interesting fact right there. You know what I'm talking about?
What, yeah, all of this makes me realize that maybe they just need to cut down another Heat, because there seems to be quite a few trios who just like haven't made a single round 4 and they're still here. Like,
well, there's the dynamic
maybe.
of like all the people going to grand finals, and then also we're cutting down a Heat at the same time. So it's like basically everything's balanced out. I think you're right, though.
Imagine 2 stacked Heats,
bro,
and then a reboot round. Yo.
Yeah,
dude,
these Heats are kind of underwhelming. Not gonna lie, lie.
I think if they cut down the Heat, because there are like genuinely quite a few teams who I think have just not made a round 4 at all, and I feel like to make a Heat, like in terms of the way they do the points, I feel like to make a Heat mathematically, you just need to at least have a round 4, or unless you just have like 3 mad round 3s where you're like 34th, 34th, 34th. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like they just gotta make a way to make it a bit more, because like you said, like some of the, especially this Heat, outside of the people who are the sort of top names and that, it is relatively underwhelming in terms of like, I feel like who's in here.
Hashtag make it 2 Heats.
Hashtag make it 2 Heats. That was the initial thing people said. People said like, oh, let's cut it down to 2 from 4, but like we got 3.
That's watchable, bro. That's watchable too. That's broadcastable. That's a 3-day event,
dude. Okay, you cut it down to 2 Heats, okay, and then the two Heats, they're qualifying for another Heat, okay. So it's like they all funnel into one, and then they qualify for the grand finals with all the teams who've already made it there.
But then we gotta balance it out, right? You gotta just have 2 open weeks then, 2 more grand
open weeks,
and then we make the Heats longer.
Oh, this is crazy.
Never before heard. Bro.
This is crazy.
Oh god.
All right, here's Heat C. Yeah. Or Heat 3 or whatever.
Man,
you're
I had a cool segue, man.
Oh fuck! All right, hold on. Here, Heat B. Yeah.
You know, I love this idea of 2 Heats, but there is a Heat 3, so let's move on and see how things are looking in this qualifier for Heat 3.
That was a cool segue. You're kidding me? You had one rhyme, bro.
Let's go.
He just segued it. Like
he literally just fucking. He's like, here's Heat 2. Here's Heat 3.
Transition is gone.
This guy, man.
All right. Wait, I'm not even on the right.
Bro, yo, Shia becomes a host of FNTASIA and he's just all over the place. Like, I don't know what's going on. If it's not
scuffed, is it truly natural? You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to keep it. All right, we already know who to lock in. Look at the bottom left. Sheesh. Just saying, we love out here, bro. I followed him at 300 followers. We love the Fishers, bro. No beefs. We'll never contest them. Blocking anyone that contests them. Are you blocking anyone that contests them, bro?
I'm blocking. No, I'm following people like.
Yo, that's dangerous, man. Look at the army on you.
Oh shit!
The words of Bala TW are of Bala TW and Bala TW.
Okay,
only.
look here. I'm sorry. Look. I'm sorry, but this is free search, like free, literally free. Anything going like.
Okay.
If they don't get conned, I'm saying people in this Heat are throwing. Not conned. Nobody's conning the fucking like, you know. But you land. Look, Finex, Brian, Lukey, you better be coming through. You know, just
dude, like if they're gonna throw away their entire following, bro, it's gonna be gone. They're gonna get blocked and put on blast by Benji, by Savage, by Mongrel, who's watching them doing a watch party of it. It's gonna be. It's gonna be bad, man. It's gonna be bad. But
honestly, they won't get cons. They won't.
No, of course not. But what I'm saying is like, okay, never mind.
Okay, real talk, dude. Can they win a reboot round? And what happens if that happens?
Then they make
no, they can't make a reboot round. That's the hardest surge as possible. Like,
wait, what do you mean? What was their placement? Show me their place in the thing.
What's the reboot round numbers? What's the reboot round numbers?
How do you spell Kree's name?
It's to get reboot round. Is it top 16?
I think.
Nah, I can see these guys getting 16th.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a possibility they get reboots. And then they could win. They could
win.
No.
They could
top 17. They definitely got top 17.
They could get 16th.
You guys are trolling me.
No,
I'm
I'm
not
not
even trolling.
kidding.
I know
Because
I'm
it's so
smiling,
easy, bro.
but
They
it's
can have two good games will get them 16th.
they average like what 9 points a game last time they were in quals. They
But they
average
have been-
placement every game.
They
Every
have
game they
been
average
nerfed.
placement.
They're nerfed. Everybody
got-
They
knows now.
counter-stratted.
No, but it doesn't matter if they
counter-stratted.
know.
They
If
oh
they
yeah,
know, bro,
they're just like a
people
fucking
know.
Yu-Gi-Oh
Everyone
card.
knows
Yeah,
it's a
counter strat. Like I got a counter strat against the nerf. Epic Games
No,
can't stop me. I play
Korea has
Yu-Gi-Oh.
He has 3 different strats, bro, and now a new spot.
Okay,
And-
there's Blue Eyes White Dragon. Let's go.
and people knowing is a buff for them because they don't want to fuck with them. They saw what happened to the community that tried to, bro.
Bro, honestly, yeah.
All right, we're literally playing. You guys know the game Mafia, right? You guys know the party game Mafia. This is what's happening right now. You guys are using the community as like outside influence on like this is when you're an imposter in Among Us and you fucking somebody's about to vote you off and you're like, I'm putting my whole bank account on it, motherfuckers. Like that's what's going on. Literally, that's what's going on. Illegal activities. You guys are colluding for Cray. Hashtag collude for Cray is what's going on right now.
There's a high chance probability to get in the top 16, top 17.
Bro, okay, Shio brought in the Twitter stuff. I don't even believe in that stuff. I'm just saying, genuinely, if they genuinely still do have a strat that works to win games, they can get 16th. They can get 16th.
Isn't this the week that this shit was popping? Yeah, they got second place in the round 4.
Yeah.
And they got 25th.
Yeah, there's only improvement from here.
Why are we talking about this? Can we talk about like the top 6?
Yeah, for real. What the hell is this?
I was hoping we'd avoid this whole conversation.
The best drop spot
is because Shio's a casual fucking Connor, bro. Like,
he's not wrong.
Shia said locks, top. Hey, look at the bottom left. Look at the bottom left. Like, come on, man.
What are the most interesting fights off spawn? Silly balls question.
No, okay. Locks. Verox lock.
What?
Yeah,
Verox lock.
Yeah.
All right.
Verox lock.
Wolfie's lock.
Sorry. Okay, Wolfie's lock is up here. Yeah.
Is valid.
Yeah.
Verox lock. I don't.
That's valid.
know.
That's valid. They've never.
No,
they've been fucking dirty dogs like conned every time they actually like had any sort of.
All right, valid, and then who's the
other
sleeper lock?
locks? I think Link because they have Catty on will probably lock.
Oh, true. Yeah. Oh,
probably a
Mosh. We
lot.
get to see Mosh for the first time this season. I feel like.
Yeah.
I
Do
feel
you
like
think
we
his
have
ex
Shaykov's
teammate?
lock.
Do you think his ex teammate will call from Retail? Kiko?
Oh.
Scram? Putrick? Retail?
No, I
Hmm.
don't. Wouldn't that be crazy? Mosh against his ex teammate, he quals and Kiko doesn't. You know,
The one that was critically acclaimed to be the best of the trio.
Kiko
doesn't
or
get-
Mosh.
Kiko.
And who's the critics here? Is it just you, Love and 2K, and fucking Clutch?
No, surprise me.
Why gotta bring
Clutch is their biggest fan, to be fair. But nah, everybody will come. Well, after last season, everybody was saying the best 2 controller players in EU were Amplify and Kiko. That was general consensus, and people were just constantly hyping up Kiko. I think
I just
they're
think that
able
this
to
trio has
not
been
get in.
underwhelming this season, and they're con. So I'm just like, yeah, no, I just write them off.
yeah, I'm not as confident in them. I still think they should win that.
You say it, but it's Scout and Julian. Like this is Julian Calm, right? And this is Scout. This is a German superstar. W Kiers.
Yeah. Do you think Savid calls?
We're saving.
He's
Weeping.
contesting weeping, right?
I'm cheering for him. That's what I'll say. I'm fucking cheering for him.
You're cheering for him.
Do you think Blackie has a good
doesn't-
chance of calling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I don't think it's a lot.
There are no locks in
Why?
this heat. There, except for Verox and Wolfies, there are no locks in this heat.
Why not DKS?
Why not DKS, Gray, and Shaykov's? Because, bro, they're random. They're inconsistent.
Um,
I don't know about
this
that
is
one.
hard.
I don't know about that. I feel like DKS is a lock.
DKS is
I,
a lock.
I feel like DKS is a hard lock.
I don't think that's a lock, bro. Are you confident or is it a lock? Because there's only two locks.
I'm confident. I'm confident.
Okay, so it's not a lock, but I'm not even
This is going
confident.
downhill. Like fucking, I'm like, yeah, they're inconsistent at random. I have nothing to back that up. Shao's like, no, I don't agree with that. He's just like, nah, they're a lock. Nothing to back that up.
Yeah, guys, come on. Okay, guys, let's guys, let's get back to podding. Come on, let's pod now.
Real
Okay,
podcast
so
hours.
Okay, so why do you think that, you say you're in there inconsistent, you're not a fan, what's made you think this?
I feel like I've seen them pop off like be a team that is doing well in a game randomly, and I have no reason why they're there in the first place. Like I don't see them, and then other games they're just gone. They're just completely disappeared. I don't see them in the end game. I don't see them in the feed. It's never some where I'm like, oh, it's Shea calls again. Oh, Shea call. I think there was a moment last season in Heats where it was kind of like that. I'm just like, okay. But in general, they're either there, and that is rare, or they're not. They're just missing. Like my spin?
You know what? I am a fan of your spin. What I would say, I actually do want to check, right? Because I think this could be sort of crucial. Did they? No, okay, because they did really well in week 2, but I didn't think it was at Sweaty because it would have been Tayson's team at Sweaty if it was week 2. So I'm trying to figure out where it is that they went when they did really well. They went to the Spy, actually. Interesting. Yeah. These guys have the ability to do well. But I do sort of get your inconsistent thing. I don't think they only made the 1 round 4. So not like a large sample size of like seeing what they can do in lobbies like this. And I do think that's an important thing, right? I think genuinely, like, not last season, I don't think it was like this, but this season, I genuinely do think you can look at just what a team did in round 4 of a qualifier and sort of make your decision there, because I think the games will just be very, very similar. And so that gives me hope for them that they can be good, because in the one we did see them in, they impressed. But they could fall to the same surge issues that Sweaty has historically this season. If you look at, they did well coming out of Spire. Spire for Surge is silly easy, right? We saw that with Nosh's trio last week in NA, and we've seen it with other trios as well. Spire is very simple when it comes to Surge. Sweaty, we've seen, isn't as simple. And so are they prepared for that? If you look at the map, who's around them? Like, it's not like they can go fight a castle team, right? Like, they're going to try isolate that Coral team. That comes back to me I'm not a fan of when you're just relying on one team in particular for your surge, especially out of Sweaty, which has been really hard for loads of top trios this season. So concern, but they have shown that they can do well if they don't have surge problems.
You asked me if it was a lock. I said no. That was basically,
Yeah.
The reason I'm saying yes is because this team, when I'm looking at them last season, when I think they're playing with MXR, right? They were a team that operated very well off of space, especially given space off spawn, in terms of they would drop wherever they were, if they were especially uncontested, loot fast, and then move somewhere else for a prime position for just like Surge. I'm looking at like this map specifically. If they are going Sweaty and there's no teams there even around them, I think that's really good. They could go Spire or even Bridge to just get Surge from anyone coming up north. There's lots of options they can do when they have freedom to move off of spawn and loss of room. That's where like you get to see them in those end games. You're saying, I sometimes see them. I think those are the games. And then past that as well, like towards the end game, I always like attributed Gray and Shakos to like the Shadow Trio. Like the reason they're also a little bit harder to see is because they end up going down, like playing layers below ultimate height directly on low ground, like not like just shadowing someone else the entire time, not doing too much until the last zone. They're just very good at like getting all the way towards the end when they have space. And I see them on a god spot with a lot of space on the map right now. So that's why I'm just saying, like, early on, it's a lock for me personally.
Not having a castle team could be good for them, because I think a lot of Sweaty teams will see that there's a team castle and will look for that opportunity for the surge.
Yeah, there's no
temptation.
temptation.
Then they attempt it. If they miss out on that, the timing then going forward is really bad. Whereas if these guys loot up quick, they get a vehicle, a lot of the time they
Easy.
could have priority on good positions. So there is light in that in terms of no Castle team could help them out.
This Heat will be dominated by one team, and that team is Wolfie's Void and Slender. They are literally going to shit on this Heat by 100 points. Easy.
You think it's going to be the Thomas and Assen flick?
It's going to be it's going to be the Jack Acorn Slacks type deal. They're going to wipe the floor with this Heat. They're going to
What about
destroy.
we didn't talk about Quebec's Kefi Jachu though. Can't they?
We talked about them last week, and I think basically we have no information about about them because they've just been playing relatively poor. I mean, outside of placements, I don't think anybody's really seen this team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
I think Wolfie's Void and Slender are going to dominate. Maxi Michael Verox will be a lock. Everybody else is going to be fucking crazy. I think it's going to be random as hell. You're going to have no clue, and it's going to be a big fight.
Yeah. I think Vortex, Knight, and Hycris could be a team that calls for your seat coming out of Craggy. I actually thought they were going to be conned by RZ God's team. Yeah, I thought they were going to be conned by RZ God's team, right? Because they obviously went Craggy last week, and they were the team that was really good in round 3. They even won a game, right? They won like the first game of round 4. And with their style, where they are just playing for height, right? They could be a team, RZ God Addy, they could be a team where they have a couple good games, or they just make into reboot and win a game in reboot, right? Because they will just cycle for height. But Vortex, Knight, and Hycris, I think, could call out of Craggy.
It's funny because like Hycris specifically, like in that trio, reminds me of like Hottie or like Elocrats as well, in terms of the effect they have on tournaments and like stealing a game away or like stealing High completely away. I think it was like Hycris versus Elocrats at one point as well, or like their trios in like qual 2 or 3, and they're both at the same spot, which is kind of cool.
I've always been a fan of Hycris. I don't know why. I have watched him in a couple of the like open rounds and matchmaking rounds where he's just like a beast, absolutely crazy. But I think it's more because his name is just fucking cool. Like, what a cool name, Hycris. It gives me Legend of Zelda vibes, bro. He's a fucking like the savior. He's the chosen one. Eventually, someday, this guy gotta win an FNCS just because of that. Because he's the savior of Hyrule, bro.
The savior.
Like we literally have isn't Link in this? Yeah, Link is.
Nah, but that one's whack. Like Link, like
bro.
Link. Nah, Link is just a word, man. It's just a word.
All right.
It doesn't give me the same vibes. You're right, though. You're right. There are players like that. I bet you guys have the same type of people. You just have no clue. Anyways.
Yeah, I actually do, to be fair. I do. I won't lie, I do.
Nice. That is. I'm just looking around the map, man. You guys are uncomfortable with silence. It's crazy.
It's a podcast, bro. Literally, there are people listening on audio. Like,
yeah, and they kind of woke up. They're like, "Damn, am I still listening? Like, what's going on?" Like now they're ready to hear what I'm about to say.
You just literally are throwing yourself under the bus, bro. Like my podcast listeners are falling asleep.
Falling asleep.
Yeah, because our voices are so soothing, man. It's a side effect.
True. To be fair, podcasts are definitely made to be falling asleep to. So yeah.
True.
Not because they're boring though.
Let's throw ourselves under the bus, way down into the earth, and pop out the other side onto NA East.
You cut the episode, bro. We're supposed to cut the episode.
Yeah.
We're supposed to cut the episode. Yeah.
Yo. I was not aware of this. I was actually not aware of this. Man, so those are some crazy heats, and I'm not sure what's coming up next, but for now, guys, drop if you made it this far, drop who you think is coming in first place out of this heats.
Wait, do we have a sponsor?